Hi, I'm PubliclyRemy, and this is my video about art fight. So to start off with, these are just speed paints of my characters while I also talk about them and explain their lore for art fight. To start off with, there's Rhea Rain, which is the character that's on screen right now that I'm drawing. So to preface, I'm not going to be talking about their lore and about them the entire time I draw them because it's only a 5-minute long speed paint. And, I can't get all their lore spoken in 5 minutes, especially with how I talk. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, Rhea Rain. Rhea Rain is a tiefling monk. She is my D&D character. Actually, all the characters that are in this video are D&D based, except for like the very last two, which don't have speed paints. They're just pictures of them because they're not like in my top 5 characters I want drawn for art fights. So, and they don't have lore. They're just my sonas. So they're not that important, but I did like include pictures of them because, in case people do want to draw them. Also, not only are all the characters that have speed paints a part of my D&D worlds, yeah, they're not all a part of the same D&D campaign. They are all a part of a comic I'm making, which will come out in 2030. There is no real timeline for this comic. I'm working on it. It's in the works, and the progress is very extremely slow because I'm only 17 and I'm a fresh graduate from high school and I'm planning on going to college next year while also being in trade school. Yep, I dual school in it while also trying to keep my passion for art alive. So it's a bit of a struggle right now, but I decided art fight would be a great way to amp up my art portfolio, last ditch effort right before my life starts. Because I do plan on using the pieces I create for art fight for my art portfolio. Like, I'm gonna go all out on these pieces, and my goal for art fight this year is 10 pieces, maybe 15 if I'm not super busy, because I do work as well. I work. Oh my gosh, an artist working? Crazy. Yeah, no, I work, so 10 is my main goal, but 15 if I can do it, if I can manage it. I currently do have my hit list pretty much built out, but if you see this and like want to give me your art fight user in the comments, I can always, try to fit them in, because I do plan on also trying to revenge anyone who does attack me. I'm super big on that, so that's also another goal of mine. Honestly, I might just talk over Rhea Rain's speed paint and not even touch on her lore because I made a previous video for my senior institute where I did do a speed paint of her, and it was a full body speed paint just like this one, except it was for my senior institute. And honestly, within the month of May, my art style has changed drastically. So if you go back to that video and then come back here and look at the same character, it's an improvement. It's an improvement, I feel like. So yeah, and that video also was a speed paint of her and me talking about her lore, so there's no point in really going over her lore again because there's also a synopsis of her lore on the art fight page. This is just because I want to post something for my channel. I'm gonna use these pieces over and over again. They're references for my comic. They're references for when I make cool pieces of them, so yeah. Also, I do plan on creating a video for all the art fight pieces I make. I will most likely do it in parts. Like, this video only has 5 speed paints because I really only have 5 characters I truly want drawn. And I plan on attacking 10 people at least, like getting 10 drawings done. And just from 5 speed paints alone in this video is gonna be roughly close to 30 minutes. So I can't imagine fitting 10 5-minute speed paints into a one video because no one will watch that. It'll be like an hour long. I barely think people will watch this because it's so long and it's about my characters. Like, who cares? But yeah, so I will be making like parts throughout the month of July for the drawings I make for art fight. And honestly, I don't know what I'll talk about when I voice over them. I'll probably talk about like why I chose that character because I think at least 3 out of the 10 people I have on my attack list are my friends. So like, what am I gonna voice over about that? Like, oh, it's my friend. Of course I'm gonna draw their character. But yeah, I'll talk about like what I thought was cool about their character, and then I'll also like give you guys a synopsis of their character's lore because I think that'd be really cool, like promoting their character as well. So yeah, this is Rhea Rain. This is the final drawing. I'm just gonna keep rambling as the speed paints roll on. But character lore is a huge reason why I draw characters to begin with, because in most of my drawings, I love to do scenes. I love drawing scenes. So if they don't like have lore that I can make into like a really cool scene, I'm most likely not gonna draw them. Like they could have the coolest character design, but if they don't have lore that can give me something to like visualize a world in them, I can't do it. So yeah, I do read all the lore I find on Artfight characters. I love lore. I love it. I love it so much. I see like all the effort artists put into their characters and into their worlds, and I'm like, I have to draw that for them. I have to. And I feel like I do that because of the inner D&D player in me, and I mean, all of my characters are D&D based, and each one of my characters has a little sprinkle of me and my personality in it. Mainly this one that I'm drawing right now, Rem Whiskey. He he is my self-insert D&D character, okay? I love him so much. Like, Rhea Rain was my first ever D&D character, but she wasn't a self-insert. I just made her because I love monk characters, and I thought she was super baddie slay woman. And then our second D&D campaign rolled around, and I was like, what if I made a character that was me this time? And of course, I had to go with the species Ratfolk, because, come on, my mascot is a rat, and my name is Remy. So you can pretty much, like, imply that Rem is me, Remy. Like, come on, I'm not that creative when it came to the name of him, because he was just meant to be me. Like, when I play him in the campaign that he's in, he's just me. I don't have to, like, say, oh, Rem is saying this, because everything he says is just me. Now, all of my characters have a sprinkle of my personality in them, but not their lore. I just want to preface that. Their lore is just something I made up to fit their D&D world. None of their lore is based after me in my real life experiences, okay? I'm not gonna out myself like that online. Their characters are purely unique in terms of their personality and their looks, because I had an idea when I came up with each one of them, because they're all interconnected with each other in some way. So I had that locked down in my head. I mean, besides Rem Whiskey, okay, he was just meant to be me. In his first ever design, he was very more like rogue-esque. He's always been a bard though, okay? He's always been a bard because since he's based after me, of course, I'm gonna pick the most artsy-fartsy D&D class that I can, which is bard. But when he was first in the process of my brain farts, he was playing a lute instead of a violin, and he was more adventure based than like this fancy getup that he has on now. And the reason I changed that is, if it's his lore, I don't want to really talk about his lore because his lore is probably the most sensitive content based. So I really won't get into the nitty and gritty of Rem Whiskey's lore. His lore synopsis is on his Artfight page, and even then it doesn't give the full details because I'm saving that for my comic, guys, okay? My comic is gonna be pretty dang graphic, so be prepared for that if you want to stay along for the ride of me creating the comic. But just to give the quick sum up of who I am drawing, so you guys just know that, is that Rem Whiskey is a lowly performer, and that's just how he makes coin to support himself, pretty much. That is Rem. Also, his color palette is pinks and browns, mainly because I was trying to give him that romantic and like flirtatious personality. That was what I was leaning towards. And also because he used to have a daughter. She passed away due to an illness. He used to have a daughter and her favorite color was pink. So I feel like he's the type of person to carry that around with him because, much like me, I love to wear my little trinkets, my lockets, etc. So that's him. Now, in me and my friend's D&D campaign, Rem is not a part of the same universe as Rhea, but in my comic world, they are in the same universe and they are lovers. Because I wanted them to be. Come on, they're my first two D&D characters and I love them both so much. I hold them near and dear to my heart, so I had to make them lovers. But yeah, that is Rem Whiskey, my lowly alcoholic bard character who has a terrible and crude sense of humor, but gosh darn it, do I love him. Now there is Amara. I love Amara, okay? She doesn't have an official D&D campaign yet, but she is super baddie woman. That is what I was going for. I love a strong, muscular woman. Now, Amara doesn't have official D&D campaign yet, but she is a D&D character of mine that I plan on playing in the future. Amara is more so just a character I created for my comic in the works. She is the villainess. I do plan on playing an evil character eventually, like, come on, I have to. Now, Amara's whole thing is very similar to Rhea's, where Rhea is the chosen one of Istis, the goddess of fate in D&D lore, and Amara is the chosen one of Hor, the god of vengeance in D&D lore. Now, while Rhea's lore is very conflicting in terms of her faith and her being a monk, Amara is not a monk. Amara is a barbarian Asmir, which basically means that she was born with celestial powers despite, being a barbarian, which is typically not a D&D character that has magical powers. She was born to serve for the greater good, but she's a fallen Asmir, so she now serves for the greater evil. The greater good being that she once served was Istis, because Istis is considered to be a very good goddess in D&D. Like, she has no evil intentions. Despite like what I'm using her for in my comic. So even in my comic, I don't want to give spoilers, but even in my comic where she conflicts with Rhea, which Rhea is a genuinely good person as well, Istis is just still trying to lead Rhea to the greater good for everyone involved, if that makes sense. And the reason why Amara has fallen is simply just because she gave into her chaotic evil nature. And despite that, Amara still wants to get back to Istis, but there is no feasible way that she can. So Amara learns of her chosen one being Rhea and then falls in love with Rhea. So yes, this is toxic Yuri in these characters as well. Amara falls in love with Rhea, and Hor, her god of vengeance, wants vengeance on Istis. And Istis's whole plan for Rhea is that Rhea needs to kill Rem Whiskey, even though when she met him, she pretty much fell in love with him. Because Rem is considered to be like a tether being, and he is very important to the multiverse of my comic world. And I'm not going to spoil why, but he's very important, so his death is crucial. And Istis needed Rhea to be the one that does it, because it fits in with her threads of fate. But when Rhea meets Rem, she doesn't do it. She decides that since Rhea feels that she is a genuinely good person, she cannot do it without having Rem felt life. Like, because Rhea figures out what Rem has been through in life, and she just can't do it without Rem experiencing the good that the world can bring. So Rhea very much becomes a companion to Rem and eventually like plans on killing him after he has lived fully. But Istis needed Rhea to kill Rem immediately as she met him, because Istis, despite being the goddess of fate, knows that Rhea will fall in love with Rem, and she needed her to avoid that because other people are also after Rem since he is a tether being. One of those people being Amara, and that's because Hor, the god of vengeance, promises Amara that if she kills Rem, Rhea will fall in love with her, because Amara would have done Rhea's job for her and been grateful that she didn't have to be the one that killed the love of her life, basically. And Rhea's approval is so important to Amara because Amara feels that Rhea is the only way she can get back to Istis, thus being Rhea is like a mortal being that she can truly love romantically, because, come on, a goddess is not gonna, love you like that. So Amara does fall deeply in love with Rhea and really wants Rhea's approval and Rhea's love, and she feels that they could be like a power couple in the eyes of Istis. Now, despite Amara being like a deeply hurt character. She is deeply also evil and chaotic. That is the whole reason she is a fallen Asmir. So that is Amara's lore. But yeah, that is Amara Ramirez, my beautiful, baddie, Valkyrie, barbaric woman with muscles of steel. I love her so much. Now on to Komori. So Komori is Rhea's childhood best friend who also used to work in the Church of Istis growing up, and he was trained to be a cleric of the Church of Istis. But he was also being trained to be the original Rhea. So Rhea was an orphan who got adopted by the Church of Istis because Mother Chandra, which was the head of the church at the time, had a vision of Rhea and knew Rhea was going to be the chosen one of Istis. So Mother Chandra adopted Rhea, took her in, and she grew up besides Komori, and they were the best of friends. But the rest of the church pretty much agreed that Komori was more fit to be the chosen one, so he was also trained to go into the astral plane, and he was originally supposed to be Rhea in lore. And Komori, much like Rhea, did go into the astral plane, but Rhea was there for much, much longer and sometime after Komori had been there. So Komori was sent to the astral plane first, and he was there for 40 years before he completely lost his shit. He could not handle being there, and Istis saw that, and Istis, being a graceful goddess, sent him back down, not realizing that pretty much half of his body would be burned and severely scarred on his way back to the mortal realm due to him going far, far, far before he was meant to go back. And Komori was very hurt by this. He thought Istis did this on purpose and thought that Istis was banishing him from the church. So Komori left without a word. He didn't tell Rhea that he had returned or anyone in the church that he had returned. He just disappeared and joined the church of Shar. And Shar is the sister goddess of Istis, Shar being the goddess of darkness. And Shar had pretty much promised Komori vengeance against Istis, and also that he would be able to see Rhea again if he had joined her will. And Komori, being very much hurt and angry, decided that he would join the Church of Shar, and also because he did want to see Rhea again. Rhea is very important to everyone's story. He was in love with Rhea. He fell in love with her in their teen years growing up together. He knew that he wanted to be with her, and he had pretty much assumed that Rhea was already in the astral plane at that point because they both had to wait until they were 27 to go into the astral plane, and Komori is slightly older than Rhea, but he had been away from the church for so long after he had been brought back to the mortal realm due to embarrassment. He didn't want to go back to the church and say that he felt banished, so he just avoided the church completely, and by the time that Rhea's 27th birthday came around, he knew that Rhea was already in the astral plane. And he knew that it would be a long, long time before Rhea came back. And so Komori pretty much also added another agreement onto his deal with Shar that he wouldn't age a day until Rhea came back, pretty much. Because Komori is very prideful in his looks, and that's why he was so hurt when half of his body got burned off. And also, it would have been weird because Komori would have been very much a senior citizen by the time Rhea came back from the astral plane, so he didn't want to age for that reason as well. So Komori and Rhea are much older than their physical ages, but everyone is adults despite birthday gap. God, that sounds awful for me to say, but D&D logic, guys. It's D&D lore, and they went to the astral plane, and this is fate tethers working in mysterious. Gosh, this sounds awful. Oh my gosh. I swear, it's not like Rhea knew anything of Rem before she came back to the mortal realm, and the only people that knew each other as kids were Komori and Rhea because they grew up together. Amara knew of Rhea after the fact that Rhea was brought back because Amara much like Rem is it's still in mortal years. I hope that makes sense because when I was making the astral plane timeline, it gets really confusing because time works different. In the astral plane, so like 50 years in the mortal realm is 100 in the astral plane. But it'll be much more explained in my comic. But yeah, this is Komori. Next is Comp Unit. Now, he by far is my truly good character. He does nothing wrong. He had no evil bone in his bone. He has no evil wire in his body, I should say. Now, comp is short for companion in my acronym version. It's not short for competitive, but it could also be considered that considering he is a Warforged D&D character. He was made way, 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 way in the early days of my comic world, and he was made to assist warriors that were fighting goblins when the town of Birgon was first being created. So he is very much Bastion coded from Overwatch. He is my oldest character now that I'm truly thinking about it. He was created far before Rhea and Komori were alive. He is that old, and the only reason he still works is because during a battle way back in the early days of Birgon, he was hit somewhere that didn't like fully damage him, but it did power him off, and he was later found by Rhea and Rem and becomes their companions, and he still has that programming where he feels the need to protect organic life form. And he doesn't necessarily sense Rhea to be an organic life form since Rhea has lived far beyond her years, and he sees Rem as that organic life form, so he becomes very close to Rem and does eventually fall in love with Rem, because I can't have everyone here fall in love with Rhea now, can I? Now, just because he's in love with Rem doesn't mean he hates Rhea and is trying to kill Rhea, much like Amara and Komori are trying to do to Rem. It just means that he has a respect for Rhea, since Rhea was also the reason why he got powered back on, and he sees Rhea more so as just another being, much like him, created for a purpose. Now, Comp is also based off of a heart monitor machine, because I thought that would be really cute. His giant hands are also, like, green cannons, and since he, is such a fanatic for organic life forms and nature in general, I decided to make him a druid-based character, but despite the comic lore where he was created for war, I decided that it would make sense if when he was reactivated by Rhea and Rem, that they would teach him magic and stuff and help him find his way into like a class that he liked, and that's how he became a druid. Other than that, there's not really much more I can say about Comp. He is just a support character in Rhea and Rem's story, and he does have more lore, but those characters have not been created yet, like drawn or have their lore fleshed out at all. Mother Chandra is also another side character who hasn't been drawn or has fleshed out lore. She's just a character that's there, much like Comp, except I actually love Comp and I do want to play him, so that's why he's being drawn. But yeah, he also does have his own side story, and he is an important character. He does have other characters that fit into his lore more, such as Fawn, who I have not drawn yet, but she will be a baddie centaur woman, of course. Since the speed paint of Comp is not done, since I'm adding tiny little details to him just to make him cooler and more fun for people to draw, I should mention that if you haven't noticed, I do sketch traditionally, and that for some people might raise a red flag if I'm doing art fight actually throughout the month of July. And here's what I can say. I am I'm very big on the rules of art fight. This is my third year of art fight, and I can provide the dates for the days that the digital drawing is created. Unfortunately, I cannot provide like solid proof of the date of when the sketch is created because my setup for like filming myself drawing is not that good, and I do not have the storage space for it because I'm a very new gen content creator, and I'm only using my phone and its crappy audio recorder right now, so that's pretty much what I can say about that, is that I can provide dates for the actual digitalized drawing, but not for the sketches, unfortunately. But trust and believe in the power of artists that I am playing Art Fight through the month of July. Now, here are the other two characters I mentioned earlier. That's my persona and fursona. People can draw them too if they want. They are just not as big and they don't have lore because they're just my sonas. But that is my speed paint video on Art Fight, and I really hope to see you all there. 10 attacks, trust, it will happen. 15 if I have the time. Because I might definitely not have the time for 15 attacks, but I will really, really try. Anyway, if you want to, leave your users in the comments, though I doubt anyone will see this since this is only my second video. Please feel free to do so. I really do want to get more people on my hit list, despite my hit list being kind of finalized right now, but I can always add room if I have the time. So please, leave your users. Bye!